Welcome into Warchant TV and Warchant.com. Great to be with you. I'm Jeff Cameron. That is the great Corey Clark.
Come on, man. It was loud.
It's all right.
It's a hearty
smack for the first day of spring football, right?
Yeah.
Good times. All right, well, let's get started because I will just say this. Obviously, any first day, the excitement levels are high, the energy levels are high. Coach Norvell talked about that, and you would expect that to be the case. I think we come in here with some themes, really, and this is clearly Jordan Travis's team. He talked about that afterwards. Corey, I know you talked to him, asked him a couple questions, and he seems excited to lead as the guy. There's no questions.
Yeah, every year he's been here. It's been James Blackman he's competing with. Then it's Mackenzie Milton, the hot shot from UCF he's competing with. This is the first spring he's had where he knows he's the starting quarterback, and it looked like that out there today. He was calm. He was in control. Didn't throw any interceptions because he never does, really. I just thought he looked more comfortable for a first spring practice than he ever has, but he should. He's been in this system now for 2 years. He's been at the school for 3. But yeah, you can tell he's excited that it's his team. He doesn't have to answer questions about other quarterbacks, except when I asked him about A.J. Duffy. But I asked him about A.J. Duffy in the sense that knowing that he's not threatened by A.J. Duffy to come get a starting job, but he wants to take him under his wing. But yeah, just the way he talks. You guys can go watch that video of Jordan Travis too. I mean, obviously you watch this first because you know who's important.
Maybe on a loop.
But yeah, but then after that, maybe go watch the starting quarterbacks video. And yeah, man, he's in complete control. You can tell this is his team.
Well, you mentioned A.J. Duffy, and a lot of fans will want to know how he looks out here in his first day, and I thought he looked great.
Yes.
I mean, I don't usually just throw that around. I mean, listen, they're in helmets, that's all they got. But, man, he really did throw in rhythm, looked very comfortable, seemed to have a good grasp of everything they were doing in practice. The first day out here for a lot of these new guys, and there's a ton of them, for them to be organized and to have a good feel and to kind of shine, there were a few guys that really stood out. I thought A.J. Duffy, of the newcomers, really did stand out.
Yeah, man, that was, and I asked Jordan Travis about it, like A.J. Duffy's first rep in a real practice, a real practice setting in 7-on-7, he lets a seam throw rip for 25, 30 yards. So I think Marquiston Douglas. Yeah. Just out of the gate. This is what we're doing. I'm ripping a pass down the middle of the field. That kind of confidence to do that, like see it, read it, see it, and throw it that quickly. You're like, okay. And he made some other good plays throughout the day. He made a couple bad ones. That's going to happen. But yeah, you see what they're excited about. And when Ira asked Norvell, how did you think Duffy did on his first day? Again, you can watch that video too. He just kind of laughed, really good, really good. So you can tell that he was even excited and impressed with what happened.
Well, I think another theme here as we start spring football is the level of competition by segment group. They are starting to bring in the caliber of athlete that will ratchet up the kind of competition you need to have on a daily basis to bring out the best in players and to give you a chance on Saturdays to win some football games because you're not shocked by somebody else's speed, somebody else's strength or size or depth, because Florida State is now, they're not where they need to be completely, but there are more guys that look the part than in each of the last 2 years, obviously.
And not that it mattered today necessarily because they're just in helmets, but do you ever remember a spring practice with that many offensive linemen? I mean, they were all out there almost. It was like 20 of them.
Well, and they said they have 95% of their team that's going to be playing this fall here now.
Yes, yeah.
So they're not looking to add on a ton. These guys are the guys that are going to be going to battle together every day in the fall as well. And you're right, that offensive line looks to be not only getting better, but also providing some depth. I think you have some guys now where maybe it's not just the starting 5. Maybe there's a guy or 2 that you could rotate that you feel good about.
Yeah, and going back to the competition angle, what's going to happen with these wide receivers and these DBs? You can't put a price tag on like real competition. Like last year, that first spring practice we watched, I don't know that a FSU wide receiver made one catch.
No.
Not like a one contested catch, whether in 1-on-1, 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s. They made a few of them today. It wasn't all pretty, but they made a few. Johnny Wilson made 3 or 4 really nice catches in traffic where you're like, okay, that could help on 3rd and 8. Because they were terrible on 3rd down last year. Micah Pittman made a tough one over the middle. You start to see, and then you see Josh Burrell made a couple. So the new guys are starting to take they're seeing these the older guys, the guys that have been here for a while, see these newcomers come in. It's like they're raising their game a little bit too, because I can tell you, it wasn't all pretty. They didn't win every battle. They lost quite a few as well. But it's worlds better than what we saw last spring from the wide receivers.
Should mention too that Benson was able to run all out today at running back. And for a guy who's coming off of health problems, right? You want to know that he can get into camp and be able to participate. I think Coach Norvell is really excited about what he can be. Of the backs, he ran the fastest time. He's about 218 pounds.
Yeah, so 6'1", 6'2".
6'1", 6'2".
Sammy Smith Smith look-alike.
He's
this
a
guy.
big dude, and he looks the. I talk about guys that look the part. He looks the part. Norvell commented after practice, "Yeah, we think we got a guy that we can run between the tackles and feel really good about it, but also the speed to get to the outside." So that room needed a shot in the arm. I think they have one, so long as his health is where it needs to be. He's been cleared.
And I was saying that he had one run, and again, they're not tackling; they're in helmets. I think it was in team. It was 11 on 11. He had one run where he hit a hole and just burst through it, and then kind of did a little shimmy on a safety.
Yeah, he looks silky smooth.
And it okay, I even said at the time, I'm like, he might be the one at the end of this season that we talk about the most that came out of the portal. There is a chance. And that's when, not to speak out of school, but Ira Schofel said, I'm all in on Trey Benson. Like, he is a big believer in that dude. And when watching the way he ran today, just the way, because you worried about his what he looked like physically, just because he's coming off a pretty significant injury, and I don't know if that's full speed, but if it isn't, good grief.
Well, we'll know a lot more, obviously, once they put the pads on, and we can talk about trench play, because that's where the games, as they say, are won and lost. But I will say this: when you look at Gibson, Caden Lyles, where the hell Gibson?
You're thinking Derek Gibson, the safety from the Dynasty.
No, but when you look at Caden Lyles and you see with Gibbons and him next to each other, you really realize, and that's where Gibson came from.
Close.
Okay, we're getting there, guys. It's the first one for us too.
Exactly.
It's spring, we're getting used to it. But anyhow, you see those two in the interior, you realize they've got some real size. Both those guys came into camp in shape.
Yeah, and I think that's what as we look forward, I'm going to keep an eye on the receivers the whole spring, because it has to get worlds better. But those, obviously, the trenches and the offensive line versus the defensive line. I want to see this offensive line now that, again, there's not 4 guys out with shoulder surgery.
Right.
There's not 3 guys out with it. I mean, they are here, and this is a great month for them to get better. They're already bigger. Let's see if they're better and stronger, which theoretically they should be, and see how they look. Because they could actually be, dare I say, like a strength?
A pretty good
maybe a pretty good segment. Yeah, there's a chance there. And like you said, there's a lot of depth. What I thought was also cool today was there was a million recruits here. I mean, everybody was here. But also a lot of former players were here. We saw Cam Irving before we recorded this.
I was going to wrap up with that, because I think that's really important, and you could hear it from Coach Norvell. Yeah, we just talked to Cam Irving. Coach Norvell talked about those guys coming back and supporting the younger guys, supporting the veteran players, supporting the program, period. Just to come back here and lend their support. They're going to go over to the basketball game now and get announced, a lot of those guys. I think it's important. For years we complained about that as Florida State fans. People would say, how come we don't do more with our former players? Well, he's really efforting to do that, and those guys showed up today, so that was nice.
Leroy Butler, too.
Yeah.
And Lamont Green, who happens to have a son that's a pretty good football player, I think. But they love Lamont either way.
They had dinner with the players last night, and they got to interact with those guys. Pretty cool to be able to talk to a Hall of Famer.
That's great,
right? So it's a lot of fun. First day of spring, practice is in the books, and it was a good one. Went smooth, and we would invite you to come back. Make sure you like and subscribe. Warchant TV.
Smoother
and
than what you've done out here.
Much smoother. I'll be better, I promise. Next time. For Corey Clark, I'm Jeff Cameron. Be well, everybody.